Hello, Dread Mechanic here again for part 3 of my Armored Core Mark IV build stream. All these different numbers are getting confusing now. That's the big grey and purple one behind me with the chicken walker legs. Oh yeah, quickly, just going on with my internet. Oh, that was not the button I meant to press. Typical. Well, great start. I meant to turn up the volume on the music, not quit out the save game. Well done. So, anyway, back to what I was saying. I hope you're all enjoying playing around with my Armored Core Mark III Angel Wings model. It's the first of many planned ideas that I've got. Whether I actually get around to doing them all or not is a different question. Time versus effort versus willpower and all that. But with this session, which is now freshly loaded and not getting quit out of by mistake, turn the game music back on. This version was more or less half done when I finished that one. So now the rest of the work on this is mostly a case of copying and pasting a bunch of systems from there into this side. Why is my internet being so awful? What is going on? Pick a speed and stick with it, please. Right, so what I was saying was I need to copy and paste a bunch of stuff from that one into this one. So far, I have done most of the balance system. That's the wrong button. That's the right button. So it now has a functioning balance control system like the other one. So if it tips too far, it will correct itself and it will stop the walk cycle until it centers itself and is happy enough. There we go. So the auto balancing system is working. I have slightly adjusted some of the gyros. I need to tweak them a little bit. The weight loads and overall mass of this are slightly different from the other, so it's going to create a few different responses. Oh, but the next big thing is to copy over the Skimmer control system that lets this thing slide around like so. There's quite a few things involved in that. But I think I've got most of the blocks in place now. Oh, bye bye tiny cat, see you later. So, skimmer control, all of this nonsense. We're going to start getting complicated. So, skimmer stuff. Start from the top. Skimmer mode on off is just that sign. Oh. That's something. I also need to set up in here, isn't it? Because I've probably got, yeah, I've got some loose hollow signs. That one needs to be changed, because that is no longer going to be the head. That is going to be Skimmer Mode. Means I need to change the hollow sign, which is the one above me. That one. That can now be head active. I need to change this up. That's going to be text and images, size 3 lettering, red text, head camera active, now I can turn it on to make sure you see it. There you go, that needs centering about 25 and danger. There you go, that could be the new head camera sign. Head camera on off is controlled by a different sign now. Head sign, there it is, add that. Change our toolbar button to be that instead. Sound, right. So that should be our head camera. Turn it off. Yeah, there we go. That's our head camera back to normal. Maybe. Oh, please internet, sort yourself out today. The weather's lovely. There shouldn't be any issues with my Wi-Fi today. Of course there is. Whatever. If it's OBS just getting moody. Right, so we were doing Skimmer. Not on. So that obviously all looks wrong. Need to blue and red makes yellow. Or green and red makes yellow rather. At least according to the light colour wheel. Which for some obscure reason works very differently to the paint colour wheel. Don't know why. Never will. Right, so danger sign, you can go removed. We want the Trinity logo. It looks pretty. Also, that needs to say head camera, not just head. Head camera. And 35 is a bit much. There we go. No, it's not to say skimmer mode, dumbass. Edit text. Skimmer mode. There you go. Right. So I've got all my active modes are going to be down there, and all my weapon control modes are up there. Right. I'm thinking I might do some of the flight controls and the skimmer controls different with this one. I've been playing a lot of Armored Core 6 again recently. And I would like to... Oh, hello, human shores. You want to learn what it takes to make Mech walk? That is a combination of multiple things, and can be a little bit frustrating to learn. It takes a little bit of time to get your head around it, but making things walk is a combination of basic physics principles, move like velocity, mass, all that kind of stuff, The most basic thing when it comes to making walk cycles and making things balance is your center of mass and your center line. If you click on the info tab, click on center of mass, this big green and purple thing in the middle, that is the center of mass for this entire construction. All the little orange dots are the centers of mass for all the separate subgrids. They're not really as massively important, but key thing, you want your center of mass to be as close to middle as possible. If it's off center, then it's going to lean when it starts moving. Obviously this is a little bit far back, so it does do a little bit of a backwards lean when it starts moving, but you can correct that with gyro overrides. The next important thing is to make sure your feet line up nicely with your center of mass, and it will take a little bit of fiddling and adjusting to get all the right angles for your legs, depending on how long the thigh is, how long the calf is, how big the feet are, and all that kind of stuff. It also kind of depends what kind of legs you want to make. These are what I refer to as inline legs, as in their movement of travel is in a straight line, whereas some of my spider walkers, for example, have got what I call sweeping legs, whereas they lift up, sweep round, drop down. That can have an effect on it as well. My advice to most people is when you're trying to start building walkers, build something with 4 legs first, because trying to build a biped from start with no experience in building mechs will get real frustrating real quickly, because balance and mass are really, really, really important with bipeds. If I jump in this thing and turn all of that nonsense off so it's not distracting you, when it walks forward and takes that first step, you see it tips back a little bit. That's because its mass is leaning slightly further back and off center, but that can easily be corrected and helped using gyroscopes with override controls on, like those blue ones there, and there's a few more in the back here somewhere, tucked away in there. Yeah, a bunch more there. So all the ones in the green, they're obviously manual controlled by moving the mouse around left and right, and the ones down here with the blue are on override, so they will try and keep themselves centered. So yeah, having some override gyros in your mech is a good idea, because it will try and fight the mech when it tips over and try and keep it in the center. Whereas if you build a mech with no gyros on, the instant it starts walking, it's just going to be subject to its mass and various forces, and it'll probably just fall straight over. But yeah, if you have a look at some of my other videos, I've got lots of build streams on here of doing lots of different kinds of mechs and lots of different kinds of leg designs. But yeah, my advice would be start with multi-pads. And quickly, actually, before we get into this, seeing as you're so interested, I will show you what I mean, because that save file won't let me drop anything into it, because it's not got any mods in it. Game. There is it. There's a little tutorial world I'm working on that I'm eventually going to do a video on. Yeah, no worries, man. No worries. I'm always happy to offer people advice with mech stuff. It's like pretty much the whole reason I started doing these build streams is because people kept asking me how to do it, and trying to explain how to do it in a simple, like, paragraph on a comment section or a 5-minute conversation is really, really difficult. Because there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. But yeah, the best thing to do with like basic mechs is like build something like this, just like a little 4-legged thing. Because these are what I call sweeping legs. Because obviously they move backwards and forwards. That section lifts up, and it just does a big sweep left to right. And it's all controlled by this light here. So that doesn't actually lift up very high, so it's hard to tell. Make that go a bit further. 70, there you go. And I've just broken it somehow. How have I broken that? Oh. Wrong one, probably. That's why. Yeah, so like the basic leg setup, the most basic kind of leg you can make is a sweeping leg like this, where it pulls back to create drag, and when you move forward, it lifts up and drops back down again. And then it works something like that. And that's like the most basic way of setting up a mech. Like, those kind of legs don't work very well on hills because they kind of rely on having a certain amount of slide across the floor. Because sweeping legs will clang out a little bit if you say have the friction at 100%. It can cause phantom forces on the sides of hinges, so I tend to have the friction on the wheels down a little bit. Like, yeah, you can hear all that clanging now. That's because the hinges aren't happy being dragged against their direction of movement. So when I build sweeping legs, I usually put the feet on 25% friction, because that's just enough to get some grip and also have a little bit of slide so it doesn't clang. Oh, how to tell to do multiple actions at once. That all depends on how you want to set it up. There are some scripts you can use to do that kind of thing. But I've been on a bit of a mission to do this all vanilla. Basically, the way I get these legs, or most legs, to move is I use a couple of sets of event controllers, depending on what I want to do. So for example, like I said, this is like part of a tutorial I'm kind of working on, so a lot of it's already marked up. Basically, the way I get legs to move these days is I have it all controlled by lights and event controllers. So this first event controller is being triggered by this light. So that one is forward, number 1. That is being controlled by that light on top of the leg, turning on and off. And when it turns on and off, all it does is reverses the first hinge down here, and then it does things with the other hinges, as in it moves that one, and it moves that one again, and it moves that one. So that first controller is set up so that when the light turns on, it moves the whole leg forward. Where is it? Leg light L01. And when it turns off, it brings the leg back. So yeah, when it turns on, it moves forward and up, and when it turns off, it just brings the leg back. And to get the second half of the leg to drop back down again, we have the second controller, And what that second leg controller does is it looks at the angle of the second hinge, and when that hinge gets to the threshold that we want, as in it lifts high enough to move to clear the floor, once it gets to that threshold, it will just reverse that hinge again and make it drop back down. So if I take leg hinge FL02, which is this one here, if I try and reverse it, that other controller automatically dropped it back down again. And that is it. With those two controllers and a light switch and some simple actions in here of just reversing hinges, you can get that entire leg action out of just turning this light on and off. And if you do that for each leg, as you can see, each leg has got an identical set of controllers. All you then need to do is, if I go onto here, leg lights, if I drop all of them with on-off switches on there, to get it to walk, you just need to alternate two of them and then turn off and on all the lights together. Oh, hey Fribber. Let's see what you say. When you make a proper ship. What's that? Make it so that the alarms activate a 3-minute countdown start for some escape pods. I've thought about doing stuff like that. To be honest, I really want to make a drop ship for the Armoured Core unit I've been working on. And what's that you're saying, Human Shores? So could you... Oh, no, this isn't manual. That was just me showing you how that system works. If you wanted all of that to work together into a automated system, what you can do is set up a series of timers. So what I've got here is these timers control the walk cycle in this version of the system I'm using at the moment. So I've got a walk forward and a walk reverse button. We'll just do the walk forward one for now. What that does is when it turns on all the controllers that I need to walk forward, and then it turns on and starts the second step of the cycle. So that first one, what it does is it just turns everything on that we need and then sets up the next step, and then that will trigger the next step, which will turn on our gyro so we can walk. It will set up the legs in the orientation we need them to start the walk cycle, and then it turns on and starts the walk cycle, which is literally just all the lights turning off and on, repeating itself. So if I started that there, all that's going to do is do that, which isn't what we want. But the walk start button, what that does is sets everything up into the position we need and then triggers the walk cycle button. And then it'll do it by itself. And then you can have a walk off button, and the walk off button just stops and turns off the walk cycle, turns off the gyroscope, resets all the legs to their furthest positions, so we've got a nice balanced system, and simple as that. So yeah, this one is just set up with basic controls that you can trigger from the toolbar by turning it on and off. And if I hit the reverse button, it works the same way as the forward button, but it turns on a separate set of controllers that do that walk cycle in the opposite direction. So you can have a reverse mode as well. Like so. And if you wanted that to be keyboard controlled, without using scripts, which is one of the big things I'm working on at the moment, you could take another event controller. We will call it controller walk mode. And then if you dropped in a couple of thrusters. Now it's important, I should note, you need to do the system properly, you need to have two. You need one thruster to control, and you need one thruster with a tiny bit of thrust override on it, so that your control thruster doesn't respond to you moving the mech around, because inertial dampening will make that thruster do stuff if you're moving about. If you've got another one on with a little bit of a thrust override, that won't respond to inertial dampening stuff. So you can then take that controller, set it to respond to thrust, have it greater than 50% is what I usually do because it's nice and in the middle. Quickly name these thrusters. That one's got override on it. That one can be thruster control. Take walk mode, slap thruster control on it, and then for the actions we have our two walk controls. We've got forward and we've got off, which is somewhere, there it is. So to make an on-off switch real simple, when we activate the thruster we want the walk mode to turn on, and when we let go of the thruster button we want it to turn off. So we want these two timers to trigger, but we don't want them to conflict with each other because they're both controlling the same set of things. So the first thing we want to do, turn off the off controller on the first slot, turn off the on controller in the second slot, then do the opposite. So put on, off, on, and then we'll have both of them triggering. So what that means is when I hit the thrusters, the first thing it'll do is turn off the walk off timer, so it can't cancel anything by mistake or interfere. Then it'll turn on the walk on, then it'll trigger it, and it'll do the opposite. When I let go of the controller, it'll turn off the walk on controls and trigger the stop timer. So now I can hit the forward key on my control pad to walk forward, and when I let go it automatically stops. And there you go, that is a really easy way of getting vanilla keyboard controls out of event blocks and thrusters. And obviously this mech is really lightweight, so that thruster is actually having an effect on its movement. You can see it's actually pushing it along. And that's in a nutshell how I make all these things walk using vanilla controls. But we'll bin that, we'll go back to what I was actually doing because I want to carry on sorting out this big thing. Where is it? There it is. Ooh, what's that? Everyone's left me lots of messages. Protect hostiles that are in command center, and then some warheads extend the starting countdown for civilians to escape. I've put like I've put like self-destruct systems in some of my mechs before. It wouldn't be that hard to make a system that detects enemies and then triggers a self-destruct mechanism. It won't be difficult at all. You could do it with a sensor block. You could do it with an event controller. You could do it with an AI block, but the AI block would have a really, really, really long range. But yeah, that walk system thing that I just showed you with that little spider mech, that is basically the same system that makes this move forward and backward. It's just a little bit more complicated with a few more moving parts. And I use a similar system with gyroscopes on rotors to make it turn left and right using keyboard controls. Because that's what these rotors here with the gyroscopes on them are for. If I hit left and right on the keyboard, it turns them, which in turn shifts the mass of the entire mech left and right, and they are being controlled by those two little thrusters that you can see on the side. That means I can turn the mech with the keyboard using the A and D buttons, but it means I can also do it with my Xbox control pad as well. Because I'm designing these mechs to be fully usable across all platforms as much as possible. Whereas you can get control scripts and stuff that'll do the same thing, but they won't work on consoles unless you're playing on a script-enabled server, as far as I know, and that's a lot of faff. Right, so the next big thing was rebuilding Skimmer Mode for this one. Because I've now got all of this that needs replacing. Well, rebuilding. So the Skimmer Mode on that one is just set up to use the... yeah, I thought so. Yeah, so this is going to have a skimmer mode, like the Angel Wings design over here. So it can glide across the floor, much like in the games. Why are you being stupid? Something hasn't turned on and off properly there. There's some friction going on some of them wheels. Oh, yeah, because I was messing about with this one and accidentally deleted some stuff, but it doesn't really matter that much. That's why. Oh, actually, it will do when it comes to rebuilding the Skimmer Mode, so let's repaste that back in. That's the one that I haven't broken by mistake. Depends with warheads, Freybear. Warheads are only dangerous when they are armed. You can shoot them all day long when they are deactivated, and they will do nothing. They are only dangerous when they're armed. So, as long as you hide them, they'd have a better chance of surviving. So I did a lot of warhead testing when I was making a self-destruct system for one of my mechs. And yeah, as long as they haven't been armed, you can shoot them all day long. They won't detonate. If you just keep shooting them, they'll just break like any other block. They're only dangerous when they're actually armed. As far as I know, anyway, from the testing I did. Yeah, there you go. That's working properly. accidentally break anything in this one. So yeah, my plan now is just copy and paste this stuff. Yeah, yeah, human shores, I agree entirely. Like, it's why I play Space Engineers so much these days, because I've played other, like, survival crafting games with, like, building mechanics in them, but there's literally no other one that I know of that has simple things like rotors, hinges and pistons that work on the same level that Space Engineers does. And if there was, I might play that instead, but to my knowledge at the moment, this is the only game I know of that I can physically, like, literally build a mech from scratch. Like, there's plenty of cool mech games out there where you can customize a mech from lots of predetermined bits and pieces and maybe give them a little bit of a paint job, but Space Engineers is the only one that I know of where I can literally build it from the ground up, starting with, like, the first bit of, like, foot or whatever, like, cause I can fully build cockpits in these things as well, like that's why I like Space Engineers so much. It looks really simplistic and blocky and like a Lego game to a lot of people, but the complexity of the stuff you can do in it's really mind-boggling. I was watching a video earlier today of someone that's built essentially a self-loading, like, mortar cannon that uses merge blocks and warheads as ammunition, and then uses some crazy piston clang physics to fire them. And I just thought that is really, really cool. And I spent like 10 minutes watching the video, absolutely mesmerised by the internal workings of it ticking over. But there's no other game that really does that. Kerbal Space Program's got a similar kind of vibe, but you can't do quite what you can do in this, in Kerbal. So I want to set up the Skimmer Mode. So the first one is going to be thrust, forward, light thrusters, so those two. And then left turn will be then thrust greater than left control right, and then we've got to go through all the tedious control setups. Like, try creating a worm-like machine called the Immortal Worm. I actually saw a video a while back. Somebody made a pretty decently working version of the giant worm mech from AC6 in Space Engineers, and it's just got a face full of drills, and it can actually kind of tunnel through the ground fairly well. I need to find that video again. Yeah, it can be a bit of a struggle getting your ideas out. I've had loads of ideas that I think are great in my head, and then I try and make them, and either I haven't thought about them properly, or I can't work out how to make them a reality. But just trial and error, man. I'll get there eventually. You just gotta stick with it. It can get frustrating trying to build something, and then you get pissed off with it and just think, oh, sod it, I'm just going to bin the whole thing. Have a break, come back to it, try something else out, build something else in the meantime. You might have an idea that you can go back to later on. So that was right. So then we need right flight control for that one. Left. Oh, that's left turn, so that needs to have forward controls on it as well. So when we press forward and left, that will turn the mech. Because this thing is going to be able to move forward, backward, left and right, and turn separately. So that's forward, right turn. So we need to stick forward control right on there. That is going to be just straight left, so that can be thrust override. That's thrust override. Right, left control. Yeah, well, that's why I use the term simple hinges. Like, a hinge and a piston, a rotor are really simple, basic ideas, just like just a point of movement. And it's really simple concept, something that bends, something that turns, and something that extends. And it unlocks so much ridiculous potential in this game to do all sorts of crazy stuff. Like I was saying about that mortar cannon thing I was watching, like this thing this dude had made had probably about 20 different small grid rotors, pistons and hinges inside it, all moving around and doing stuff. And it was just mesmerizing to watch, and it was literally just like a couple of simple blocks doing all this crazy stuff. But yeah, to be honest, what I am doing here isn't too far off coding. It's just coding with a different set of commands. It's all still logic gates and if commands, and that's another thing with event controllers and timers. This sequence actually comes in pretty important, like when and where you turn things on and off. Like if you want to prevent two systems from conflicting, the best thing to do is to turn it off first, then have the command to turn it on second. So like your priority of what order you put stuff in really comes into play when you're programming complex nonsense like this. Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Because you can kind of create if commands using timer blocks in this. Like I've done it for all the weapon modes, for example, and all the control modes. Like if I jump into this one here, he's all set up. He's got a bunch of essentially what amount to if commands in there. Like you can see on my toolbar at the side, you've got walk mode, skimmer mode, flight mode. They are set up so that you can't accidentally activate one of them whilst another one is active. So if I deactivate skimmer mode, I can turn on walk mode again. But if walk mode's active, I can't activate the other two, because there is a very simple extra command in there at the beginning of the walk mode on sequence that turns off flight control and turns off, basically it turns off the toolbar buttons that activate those two modes when this mode is active, and the other two modes have similar controls. So basically by turning off and on these timers that I'm using as the toolbar commands, I can create fail-safes so that the other modes can't accidentally be triggered at the same time. Because if I had all three control modes active at once, like flight mode, walk mode and skimmer mode, all the body parts would be doing all sorts of crazy stuff as all the different systems are trying to conflict with each other. So yeah, it is kind of like coding, and you can create if commands and go-to commands and stuff. You've just got to think about it for 5 minutes. And there is a bit of trial and error in there. There's a few workarounds that I'm not particularly happy with, but they are functional, but they're not very clean. And those are just limitations of timer blocks and various AI blocks, as far as I know. Oh, the face? You mean the smiley face in there? Or the face on the Mech? Because, yeah, I started putting the smiley faces into my Mechs just for a laugh, because you could. And because they've got all these different faces, I've got them set up to have a different stupid face depending on what things you activate or what controls are being activated. Oh, and he's fallen over. What's he doing? Doing some very strange things now. Oh, I've obviously broken something in there, haven't I? Yeah. Typical. Whatever. Like I said, not perfect. There's a few things in there that I couldn't quite work out how to fix properly, but all a learning process. Oh, how far did we get? Oh, yeah, the one inside. Yeah. Well, like I said, I thought I like having. What is it? Not as far as I know. I have looked into it multiple times to see if there's any way of projecting camera views onto LCD screens. I don't know if anyone's made a script or anything that can do that. I really wish that it was possible. I mean, I don't know if it is. I'm not much of a scripter, so I don't know that side of things, but I'd love it if it was. Even if it was just like a really blocky, like pixelated image, I could deal with that. That'd still be cool. But no, unfortunately, I don't know if you can do that with cameras and LCD screens. But if you can, that would be awesome. That's Skimmer Mode on and off. Right, so that one is going to be block on off, and that is going to be sign Skimmer Mode active. Right, reverse is going to be thrust greater than 50%. Reverse control. Reverse left is going to be thrust greater than 50. This is reverse left turn, so this needs reverse left and left control. And then right reverse will again be thrust powered. Reverse, add, right, add, and then skimmer right will literally just be the thrust powered for a start, and that'll be right control. Cool. Right, so that's all the controllers set up, well, sort of. What was going on in the skimmer controllers on that one? Let's make all of this visible again so it's easier to see. Skimmer control forwards actions were turning them on and off, and it was as simple as that. That's fine. Left turn is increasing that once, twice, once, twice. Yeah, so skimmer mode on and off was skimmer mode on and off. Right, cool. That's easy enough. Yeah, unfortunately, unlike scripting and coding and dropping in a single block and a single script, adjusting a few parameters and off you go, doing it the vanilla way. Really long-winded and complicated. But I have found it so much more satisfying building things the long, complicated way than just dropping in a script. Because a lot of the time scripts that I've used sometimes don't actually do what I really want them to do. Like, they kind of do what I want them to do. And I've spent so long fighting with the script, just thought, sod it, I'll make my own control system. Yeah, there's plenty of subgrid script out there. I mean, hang on. Wrong one. So, if I could spell, thank you. There's plenty of good control scripts out there. There's this one that a big chunk of the mech building community use. The Advanced Walker script. That's a really good one. Like, I chat with the guys that make this script fairly regularly. It's really good, and they're always developing like new scripts to do other things. But I'm not much of a coding guy, so I've not got much input into that, and there's not much input I could offer. And my biggest issue with using script is, if a script doesn't do the thing that you want it to do, you either have to know how to edit the script to get it to do the thing you know how to do, or you need to kindly ask the person who made it to make the script do what you want it to do. So I ended up just doing this instead. This way I can make scripts do exactly what I want them to do. Make things do exactly what I want to do, rather than scripts. Sometimes I feel, though, I'm not dissing anyone else that uses them. Sometimes, personally, I feel scripts are a little bit cheaty sometimes. But that's just me. I'm the kind of dork that likes to know how to do everything myself. So we're going to have skim forward, turn off there, then turn on and trigger there, then skim, is it stop? Yeah, it is. Yes. So that will turn off there, and it will turn on and trigger there and there. And that's essentially an on-off switch for our forward control. And then, hang on, let's just quickly double check. Skim, turn, forward, left. Decrease that one, and then increase the other one. That turns us left. Yeah, it's also a good idea to name things. Like, come up with a naming convention that works for yourself. Then you can easily reference bits and pieces, rather than having 1,000 things all just called gyroscope 1, 2, 3, 4 and rotor 1, 2, 3, 4. Come up with a naming convention for yourself, and it just makes life so much easier. So, what was I doing? Oh yeah. So, skim, turn left. We want that to play with the turn rotors. So to get this thing to turn left and right, we've got some thrusters to control the left and right turning, and when they activate, it will control these rotors. And one, they are mounted opposite each other, one upside down, so you have to set opposite controls for one of them. You just have to remember that the second one needs opposite controls with this setup. So the first thing we do, reset the velocity, and then decrease it twice, which will drop it down to minus 12 RPM. Leave a gap just in case we want to adjust it later. Add some more in. Then for the other one, we reset it and increase the velocity twice, because it's mounted the opposite way around. And for each of them, we also need to have a reset velocity on the opposite side, so that when we release the turning button, it resets the velocity of the rotor and doesn't just keep spinning round and round in a circle. So now I can move it to the left like that. Yeah, that stuff all needs to be off as well. So let's turn walk mode off. That way, nothing is active. If we turn these on, nothing happens there until I press forward and left. But we would also need the light thrusters to be switched on. So we switch them on, forward and left, now does that. Cool. That was forward, forward left, forward right. So for this one, we want to do the opposite with the turn rotors. First thing we want to do is reset velocity and increase the velocity on the first rotor. And then we need a reset there. And on this one, we reset and we decrease it twice. And stick a reset there. Could you just use some gyros in solid positions to turn? Yeah, you could. I've got a sort of dual control system on these things at the moment. So when they are deactivated like this, when they are in their immobile state where none of the control systems are being used, I'm pressing all the control buttons here and moving the mouse around. Nothing's happening. That's because when all the control modes are switched off, it is set so that all the gyros go into override mode. And we can find it. Yeah, they go into override mode, so that keeps the mech stable and upright when it's not doing anything. And when I activate walk mode, it switches all of the gyros that are fixed to the main grid over to manual control, so that I can now have a little bit of mouse control, and the override gyros in the middle will still try and keep the thing centered. And that way I've got a little bit of mouse control to turn left and right, and I've also got the vanilla WASD control system, so I can turn left and right with the keyboard, or I can turn left and right with the mouse, or I can turn with both at once to move real quick. And then I've got a separate set of gyroscopes that are permanently on override control, and they control the balance system, so that if the mech tips over, it will correct itself automatically. And there is a bunch of little lights. Well, there's lots and lots of lights dotted all over this thing. Pretty much every single one of those external lights is a control switch for something. But this one, these lights, it's got one either side on the hips and one front and back on the bottom down here. That's the wrong button. So when it tips over, you see those lights tick on. That's because they are connected to sensors that are triggering gyros, and when those gyros get triggered, those lights turn on to let you know which part of the balance control system is active, and it will eventually censor itself and everything turns off again. Yeah, it corrects its own centre of mass essentially. It can tip too far and fall flat on its back, like anything can. But it can also just about get itself up from a completely flat position on its back if it falls all the way over. But yeah, that system's active all the time while it's walking, so that if you tip too far, it will automatically correct itself and then re-engage the walk cycle. And yeah, that balance system is being controlled by that sensor, and the two down here, and they are set to detect, well, voxels, but the menu says asteroids, but what it's detecting is voxels. So when it tips over too far, the sensor detects the floor and pushes it in the opposite direction. And there is another set of sensors on the feet down here that also detect the floor, and when both of those are detecting the floor at the same time, it allows the walk cycle to tick over. And if it stops detecting, if both feet can't detect the floor, it disengages the walk cycle and waits until both feet are connected to the floor again, and then starts it again. And that's essentially part of my vanilla anti-roll system. And yes, I am a nerd. I'm quite proud of being a nerd. I like being a dork. It means I know stuff. Knowledge is power. So where were we up to? We were doing front left, front right. Did we finish doing front right? I think we did. Oh, cheers, man. There you go. Front right. Left turn works, right turn works. And it resets. Cool. Yeah, man, again, this is why I started doing it all the vanilla way rather than relying on script, because like I said before, if I'm relying on script, I'm relying on someone else's work, someone else's knowledge, and someone else's time to do the things that I want. And obviously, the people that write the mech scripts are human beings with their own lives and stuff to deal with, and I get too impatient to wait for other people to do things, so just figure out how to do it myself. In the time it can take to wait for a script developer to update a script in the way that you want it to, you could have figured out how to do it all yourself anyway, so why not? Front right, left, that wants to be skim left. So that will turn off there, on there, trigger there, and then skim stop. We'll trigger there, turn on there, and turn off there. Skimmer mode on and off. There we go. So, off, off, on, trigger, trigger. Cheers, Fawnmore. What's that? Some players that don't dive as deep in scripting rebuilds can... Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm not knocking scripts at all. For beginners that want to just sort of get into it and just chuck a few things together and figure out how it all works, totally cool, totally get it. Like I said, I used to do the same thing myself. I've got all those scripts on here. It's just in recent times I've had quite a few people drop comments on some of my videos going, this is really cool, I wish it would work on console. And having been a console player myself, I thought, you know what, I'll just start figuring out how to do all these things the vanilla way, and then everyone can play with them. I've still got a few scripts in these mechs to do like all this display screen stuff, but it's not essential. Like, you could cut all of these display screens out and it wouldn't affect the mech in any way, except for the hollow LCDs. They are actually important, but all the rest of these displays are mostly just cosmetic. I mean, bar the turret controllers, they're important, but more skimmer controllers. So with that, skimmer reverse, that's set up. Skim reverse, so that wants to be off, on, trigger, and then we've got the stop action that sets everything back to default, so trigger, on and off. Cheers, man. Yeah, that's another thing I started doing a while back. Like, originally I just used like the cockpit blocks to do stuff, because they're a simple little block that you can just drop in. But once I started finding like all these scripts that you can do display screen stuff with, I quickly discovered that the cockpit blocks in game don't have anywhere near enough display screens to do all the things I want to do. So I started figuring out how to build them. Not too hard. Like, most of the cockpits in most of my designs are like 5 by 5 by 5 blocks, 5 by 5 by 5 space with a seat in the middle usually, because most of the seats are 3 by 3 by 3. So I just take one of them and wrap it in blocks that have display screens on them, and the more functional parts of the blocks, because everything you can see in here does something, essentially. All the screens have got real information on them about the mech, and then all of the timers and event controllers, like, you can see them all ticking over as the mech's working. Like, that's me engaging forward mode. That's me engaging reverse mode. That's me turning walk mode off. If I turn on flight mode, all the controllers for flight mode are up there. So if I fly up, fly down, fly forward, fly in reverse, fly left, fly right. So you can, I like to have, I'm a weirdo that likes blinking lights, and I like to have all of the functional stuff like visible so you can see it ticking over. Because A, it looks cool, and B, you know if something's going wrong. If it's not turning on or not working properly, you can see it. And then turn that off, all of those blocks turn off again. That's flight mode controls off. Where were we up to? Skimmer mode reverse. Skimmer mode reverse left turn. So that just wants the turn rotors on it. So that's going to be reset, decrease, decrease, leave space, reset, increase, increase. Then stick a reset there, and a reset there on the opposite side. So now, when I hit reverse and left, it wiggles to the left. Cool. But yeah, you can do so much with like interior decoration in small spaces now. Like we've got so because originally I just tried when I started doing like interiors like that. All I really had to play with at the time was the old school programmable blocks, and then just like the standard LCDs. That's all there was to really play with back then. But now we've got all sorts of shapes. I want to find a decent use for these round blocks at some point. But yeah, now we've got like all these different sizes and shapes of LCDs, and all the little wedge ones, and all the new programmable blocks. You can do so much with like interior decoration that's also functional. It's another reason I love building stuff in small grid, because you can get so much detail in there. What's that? It was a physical game. You had to go driving to the coast and Seattle to play. $20 for 15 minutes in Mech Warrior. Ah! A, that sounds sweet, and B, thank you for the compliment. That sounds really cool. 15 minutes in Mech Warrior sat in a pod. Like, oh, it's like one of those like old sort of VR pods from the fucking like late 90s, early 2000s, where it's just like a big moving hydraulic pod type thing. That sounds awesome. Yeah, I really want SE to do more curve blocks as well. I've got a really, really good modded sphere block set that I've not got in this game at the minute, but you can make really nice round blocks with it. Because at the moment, with Space Engineer's round blocks, you can't really make... You can make a circle, but it's only ever going to be 4 blocks wide. It's really annoying. That is about the most you can do with circles. And then you can't really get anything in the middle. Not like you can build like big pipes with them. And if you try and do it that way, you just end up with a big round square. Which isn't quite the same thing. Yeah, there's no harm in dating yourself, mate. If you remember those things, you're probably about the same age as me. Don't worry about it. I've got a lot of stuff on these screens that need changing over. So, we did left. Did we do right? No, we didn't. Turn rotor right. So this one is reset, increase, increase, give it a space, reset, decrease, and decrease. Set and reset. Yeah, I've used tricks with hinges myself to make like bigger, more smooth circles, but again, doing that you're adding subgrids, which adds more physics calculations, even if they're not doing anything. And hinges also have conveyor connectors in them, which adds more in-game calculations. So yeah, it's not something I like doing particularly unless I have to, because when you start doing stuff like this with this many subgrids, things can start getting weird. So trying to keep subgrids to a minimum comes in handy. It's why I'm not a fan of doing like piston assisted things. Like I see lots of people like building giant mechs with like pistons that connect one part of the leg to the other to add extra support and add extra forces and stuff, and I am always so sketchy of doing stuff like that, because to use a piston like that you have to add at least a minimum of 2 extra hinges as well. So you end up with a hinge, a piston, and then another hinge. So you're essentially adding an extra 2 subgrids minimum to back up a hinge, when you could probably just redesign your leg a little bit and add in another hinge, and only add 1 subgrid. So yeah, I'm not a massive fan of using piston supported legs and arms and stuff unless I have to. It gets sketchy. Plus, in my experience, pistons of the 3 kind of movement blocks we've got tend to get the most fussy when you start doing weird stuff with them. I've had pistons clang out on me more times than I have rotors or hinges. Usually when I've had a piston clang out on me, it's been fairly catastrophic. Before I started figuring out to build stuff with damage turned off. Then it can't blow stuff up. So turn right is done, so hold back, wiggle right, hold back, wiggle left. Cool. So that's turn right, ah yeah, and then that will be skim right. That'll turn off there, it'll turn on there, it'll trigger there. And then you've got skim stop, which will trigger there, turn on there, and turn off there. So that should be all of the basic skimmer controls. So now I remove all of this rubbish. Skim forward. Stick that there. Skim reverse. Stick that there. Skim left. Stick that there. And then skim right. Stick that in there. And then have skim stop. Put that there so it's slightly separate. So now, when I hit the different directions, you can see those blocks all turning on and off. in accordance with these thrusters on the back. That is the basis of the flight control system. What's that? I've always thought SE should make a small 5x5. Oh, so you mean like a large to small grid, like connector block? Yeah, I've thought a similar thing. I mean, honestly, it annoys me that you can't just attach small blocks onto large grid blocks just anyway. Because like you say, a 5x5 small grid block of blocks is equal to one single large grid block. It's the same size, the same volume. Yeah, it annoys me that you can't just do that anyway, because you've either got to rely on tricks or mods. I mean, you can bury a large grid rotor in like the wall or floor of something and then build a layer of small grid blocks across it to fill the gap, but that can clang out depending on how your game is feeling. So now we've got those rotors set up, those timers set up. We just need to stick our commands into them now, which is all of these things down here. So I am going to copy and paste that, so I have to stop, so I don't have to keep typing that word in every 30 seconds. So skimmer control off turns off all the skimmer control, oddly enough, because I've also got fail-safes in here to turn off the control systems for the control modes, so they don't conflict with the stuff. Oh god, yeah, clang is real. I've had some epic clang moments over the years, doing weird stuff. When I was trying to build that thing that I made the little dread mechanic intro video with, that was giving me some serious clang issues for the first half hour of trying to design that doorway with all of the hinges and pistons coming out with all like the dread mechanic letters on it. That was a nightmare for the first half hour. I thought it wasn't going to work originally, and then I ended up getting it to work eventually. So skim control should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 blocks. That means we've done it right. Good. Hang on. I think something's wrong there. Forward, left, right, left. Oh, handbrake. That was the last one. I'm not sure if I want that handbrake anymore. I want to see if I can do something different with this one. I'd like to try and set this one up to be more like how they work in Armored Core 6. Because in Armored Core 6, if you're using a control pad, you tap B, you automatically switch into skimmer mode. And if you hit the jump button, you start flying. So I'm thinking of tying skimmer mode and flight mode into the A and B buttons on the control pad, or the up and down buttons on the keyboard. But that's going to need some testing to figure that out. Yeah, I've had stuff like that happen. Build it, paste it rather, and then for some reason it just does not work or behaves erratically, or Yeah, I've had builds that I've built in one game, paste them into another, and the whole thing just starts like violently shaking and jiggling because somewhere in there is some clang going on that's having like a chain reaction effect with all the other parts, and Jesus, it can get weird. Well, it's always a good idea to test out moving parts as you're building them to make sure that they're not scrubbing anywhere, because even if you think something isn't scrubbing, it quite possibly could be, because not all of the collisions for all of the blocks in this game match the actual models perfectly, or in some cases even remotely. Oh yeah. I mean, that is literally how I've got this one set up. Like I said, all of these lights aren't just there to look pretty. Each one of those lights is tied to an event controller that moves a different part of the body when you turn these lights on and off. All the cyan lights all control pretty much the section that they're attached to, and with that I can do all sorts of combinations of stuff. So like, that's how I get the arms and stuff to all move in sequence with the legs. It's how I get the legs to move in the first place. And if I stick it in flight mode, he does exactly that. When it flies, all of its body parts move accordingly. It turns left and right, he moves his body in a sort of somewhat realistic kind of way. When he moves forwards, he pitches his legs so that he's getting a little bit of down thrust and a little bit of forward thrust. Same in reverse, so he can actually slow down. Yeah. And it's something like that I need to build next. Because the flight mode has like full control of all the limbs. Whereas Skimmer Mode just has some controls set up for the arms. But it also uses a really similar system to control all of these subgrid thrusters as well. As you can see, there's lots of subgrid controlled thrusters on here. They're all controlled vanilla style as well. And they all use a very similar principle of lights and event controllers. So that light turning on and off moves that. Oh crap, did I leave them on there? Oh crap, I think I've published that to the workshop with those still attached. Oh well. Here's what it is. They're not meant to be on there. That was while I was working on stuff. Oh well. Here's what it is. But, yeah. One of those lights controls the movement. The other one controls the thruster turning on and off. So, the next complicated bit is copy and pasting all of those complicated controls over. Oh yeah, I need to turn that on as well, don't I? Yeah, do that. So yeah, so what ends up happening with that system is the timers that actually activate all the forward, backwards, left and right movements are mostly just, except for those wheels, is mostly just a series of turning lights and stuff on and off. There's a few bits where I have to turn thrusters on and off because they've got conflicting systems, but a lot of the movement controls is just essentially binary. It's just on or offs, depending on the circumstance. It's definitely what the flight controls all do. Flight reverse, for example, is just rows and rows and rows of lights turning on and off. And each one of those lights controls a limb, a thruster, a leg, a hand, a knee, an elbow, or whatever. Skimmer forward. And that is arm lights. Yeah, we want the arm lights first because the other bits conflict with it. So lazy. Don't want to have to keep going back and forth. I'm just going to take a quick picture of that on my phone. Yeah, right. Oh no. Skimmer. Let's turn that all back on first. So we want that, that one, not that one. Oh yeah, I didn't get round to finishing that one, did I? On them, not that one. Off, 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 and off. And forward would be arm lights. They are going to have the... So it'll be off, on, off, and off. And that'll make the arms stick out forward. And it'll be off, on, off, and off. So I'll make both arms stick out forward. More pictures of this. Same. And that one is all of the jetpack rotors. That's some more jetpack stuff. And those are the hand lights. And at the very end, yeah. Then we've got that fail-safe there, so that we can't accidentally trigger the arm weapons activating whilst we're moving forward. Because they've got conflicting systems, and it can screw stuff up if they're active at the same time. There's quite a few fail-safes built into here as well. Right, so skimmer forward. I've done the arms. Now, originally, I tried to make the skimmer mode work with just the wheels. But the angle at which I have the wheels on the bottom of these feet mounted couldn't get sufficient grip on the floor, so I ended up abandoning that idea. But I want to have the wheel power consumption displayed on one of the display screens, so I'm going to put in wheel controls anyway. So I've just got to do a bit of screwing around with some of the suspension. So it is the middle ones, the front ones. 1, 2, 3, because there are 3 sets of 4 wheels. Right. L01. L0. So it is. Where is it? Increase propulsion. Decrease propulsion. Yeah. And then increase and decrease. Because all wheels are actually the same. Doesn't matter whether left or right, they all spin clockwise when you increase that RPM. So if you've got wheels set on opposite sides, you need to either set one side to have inverted controls, or remember to set the controls the opposite way around. That one will be decrease, increase, decrease, increase. Right, that is page 2. Cool. So RL 0. Yeah, that's the one. Decrease propulsion, increase, decrease, increase. Rear right, we will do increase, decrease, increase, decrease. Yeah, right. And then the last set of wheels is FL01 for front left. Because again, naming conventions come in really, really handy. Yeah. So that will be decrease propulsion. Decrease in increase, decrease, increase, and then front right. The last set of these is positive, negative, positive, negative. Increase, decrease, increase, decrease. Right. Then we've got all of our jetpack controls. So it's just a bunch of lights for now. Right, just put jet light. That's what we got. Rotor lights. R01 and L01 off. The rotor light. So that goes off. That goes off. And then those thrusters go on. And back in a minute. We've got L0. Right, I see. Right, okay. So that's that for now. Then we'll do side thrusters. They are all on. 1, 2, 3, 4. Take that out. And we've got more jet thrusters. L0, 1 and 2 rotors are off. L02, R02. Adjusting suspension height adjusted, you can increase the walk speed. That would add like a little bit maybe, but not a massive amount. I mean, the walk control system in this is entirely vanilla as well, and I will show you how that works in a minute. Again, it relies on event controllers because they are my absolute favourite block these days. L02 thruster lights are both on. But the walk cycle in this, the speed of it is determined. Jetpack thrusters need to get switched on for this one in particular. Jet thrust. What is it? L02 and R02, so it's all the little baby ones. So that now and then on, and on, and take that out. On and take that out. Then we've just got hand lights. Move the hands into position. Handbrake, that is almost certainly going to get changed for this one. 1 and 2, and then the finger lights, which are never actually getting used in this system, but may as well keep them in there. And then page 9, right at the end. Why isn't that like that? Why isn't that at number 10? Oh, well, we'll do it there instead. Arm on, off. They can get turned off. So the walk speed in this is actually turn those thrusters off as well, but the walk speed is actually determined by a rotor. And it's the rotor right on the front of this thing. That rotor here determines the walk speed. Because I've got a controller watching that rotor, and every time it does a full rotation, it triggers the walk cycle, which makes the mech do a single step. And the speed of that walk cycle is determined by this rotor. At the minute, it is at 41 RPM. So when my game stops lagging, because it's trying to save in the middle of doing stuff. But I drop that down to 30. He now walks a little bit slower. Because I wanted a vanilla way around using the precise timer script, which again is a good script, but again, it is limited to PC users only, really. So I've just come up with a way of basically doing the same thing using an event controller and a rotor, because to use the precise timer script, you need to add 2 blocks to a build anyway. You need to have a programmable block for the script and a timer to trigger it. So this method uses the same volume of space, same amount of blocks, but in a vanilla way. It is limited to 60 RPM because that's like the maximum speed that a rotor can turn. But if you added another event controller that was looking at the same rotor and measuring the you could get 2 commands in one full rotation, or you could get in as many commands as you wanted into that. You just have to make sure to set up your event controllers to be monitoring opposite ends of the wheel of degrees, essentially. So if you had one looking at 0, you'd want another one looking at 180. That way you get 2 commands in there and get it to move even faster if you needed it to. But event controllers have issues when triggering stuff below 10. They seem to have issues triggering stuff in single digits, from my experience. Oh, cheers, Human Shores, man. Yeah, you go play what you need to, man. Cheers for dropping by and for chatting and watching for so long. I'm gonna have a quick break myself now, and I'll be back in 5 minutes, and I'll carry on with this and carry on rambling. But yeah, man, cheers for the sub and cheers for the like, and yeah, I stream this stuff fairly regularly, so I'm usually online somewhere building some mad stuff. I'm probably going to stream a bit more Armored Core later on this evening and do a few more missions on that. But yeah, cheers, man. Yeah, you're always welcome to drop by and ask questions, and if I can, I will answer them to the best of my ability and show you if I've got the answer at hand. But yeah, cheers, man. Anyway, I will be back in like 2 minutes with a fresh cup of tea, so see you in a second. Right, I am back. Just need to make a quick fag. Or cigarette, sorry. Minimum size recommendation for building an AC mech. Not really. I mean, the minimum size for building any mech is essentially whatever you need to get it to stand upright. I tend to build my stuff a little bit bigger than 1:1 scale, just because I like to get more detail in. Because obviously if I stand next to this thing, it's probably twice the size of what an actual armoured core unit would be. But no, minimum size, I mean, it's whatever scale you want to work in, really. Because you can only build so small on Space Engineers. Like the example I always use is my Jameson bot design. Alright, clangy physics, what you doing? Right, try it again. Because yeah, he is about as small as I've been able to make a functional, like, AI controlled mech that can walk around and move. And I've designed him on the Jameson bot from Ghost in the Shell standalone complex. And that is literally as small as I can get it, and compared to a person, he is the size of a tank. So, scale, I tend not to worry about too much in Armoured Core, in Space Engineers. I just go with whatever I can make work for the size of it. Because I have tried to build these things smaller in the past, and the issue I have always come up against is to make it fly and make it stand up. You need a certain amount of space for gyroscopes, power, and thrusters add a lot of weight. And by the time I've got a functional, like, thruster system that will let, like, a small grid or a smaller version of this mech work, it's way too heavy to walk properly and doesn't have quite sufficient power to do all the thrusters. So this version I've made a little bit bigger so that I can squeeze in a large small grid reactor into the midsection, and then it's got a whole load of other small reactors in there, and then it's got about 5 of the large small grid batteries in there as well to power all the thrusters. And that was like the bare minimum I could get in there to make all of these thrusters work properly. So the scale is essentially just, well, the size is whatever scale you want to build in. The smaller you make it, the lighter it will be, but you'll have less space to work with, obviously, to squeeze things in, like gyroscopes and reactors and stuff. I mean, if you're happy to have them exposed and on the outside of your mech, that's cool. But that's just like sort of one of the downsides of building smaller mechs. And obviously the downside of building larger mechs is the bigger you get, the more forces and more masses involved. And if you start building too big, you need to start doing things with like double hinges and double rotors to get more torque to make body parts move properly. But mech design is a bit of a balancing act, and it just takes a bit of practice. But yeah, it just takes a bit of practice. bit of balancing. Mech Warrior, I've never played much Mech Warrior. Need to play more Armored Core later on though. Right, cigarette roll. Ow. So, we had done Skimmer forward. That's all we've done. Next thing we need to do is Skimmer left. Whoa. Oh, that's the wrong button. Even my phone, I'm pressing the wrong button. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What's that? What's that there? Why is that there? Right, RS rotor on. Ah, well that's left over from something. That shouldn't be there. Oh, the amount of times I went over that mech and missed things. Still managed to miss things. God damn it. Right, so Skimmer left is going to be arm lights. So we're going to go off, off, and off, and on. Then we'll have on, off, and on. That. Page 2 will be give a friction. Reset. Stop and off. And on will be replaced. Oh yeah, it is, because I'm thinking about it the wrong way around. Yeah, so that'd be on, that'd be trigger, that's all correct. Cool. And then the friction lights. Turn off and off. And then we've got more of this jetpack stuff. Jet, what have we got? Jet R02. We've got the rotor light is off. The thruster light is on. And the two thrusters switch on. Fantastic. Stick that in the middle for now. And then the next one is L02. Which is rotor light on, thruster light off, and those two thrusters can turn off. And we've got rear thrusters. We're actually front thrusters now, which I need to rename. I'll do that later. The rear L01, and that is going to be rotor light. Thruster light. Thruster light comes first on this one. Off and on. Thruster light, rotor light, off, on. Cool. And then those two can be switched off. And then we've got R01. And that will be thruster, rotor, on, off, on and on. And then we've got the side thruster. Oh, so much complicated faffing about. But it leads to satisfying results, so why not? Side L01. This will be thruster and rotor on and off, on, off, on and on, and R01, everything is switched on, so on, and on. Cool. We've got some hand lights. Got hand light L01 is off. One is on. Finger lights will be off and on. And in the very last slot, we are going to turn the arm controls off. So we don't get any conflicts. Right. Yeah, so the next one in there. Friction off. Oh god, that one's a lot of faffing about, isn't it? Yes it is, it's a hell of a lot of faffing about. It's all them. Yeah, I'd need to swap that to that's all the middle ones, that's all the rear ones, that's all the middle ones. Yeah, so it's just all of, yeah, right, okay. And friction reset is just the exact same thing, just the opposite way around. Right, so skimmer friction off. The suspension decrease friction, decrease, I'm going to need to do that every other one. This is the long, complicated way of doing it. Yeah. It's all good. Decrease. Right. We do the same with R0. One, two, 4. Decrease. Decrease. 2, 3, and where's it gone? 4. And this way, when we engage a skimmer mode, it will take all the friction out of our wheels, so we can slide along the floor. Half of it done. And also on this one, the friction controls are doing the rear ones because they're the ones that drag across the floor. So for the skimmer mode friction, I need to do the front wheels. Suspension FL. There you go, that's the one. Really wish there was a function in Space Engineers where you can select multiple blocks, and if they're the same block, you can select a single action, and it'll drop all of them in. That would be sweet. Doing them one block at a time can get real boring. You have to do it so many times because each command of decrease friction only drops the friction by 5%. I'll just put those ones in place because I'm not ready. Oh no, I haven't. No, I haven't. I'm being a complete idiot. Divvy. Decrease. There we go. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Right, and then we can do front right, and that is the end of this block. FR0. Right, so that will be the last set of decrease commands. Decrease. 2 more pages. Ooh. That's the kind of thing that can really screw stuff up if you miss it. And then there you go. Last one. Decrease friction. Cool. Right, so now when we trigger that, we can drop all the friction on there. I'm going to do the same in reverse. So that we can reset it. That's going down to 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. Do R0. What is that? There it is. 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is one of the more boring controls to set up, but it does make things a lot easier later on. Oop, don't want to change the speed limit, that's the wrong thing. Right, friction. Increase. Then we should be at least halfway with these friction controls now. Right, that's all of them. So we need to do front, left. Increase. Smack. There it is. Pay attention. I'm not sure whether I'm going to need a handbrake control like I've got on the other model. I want to set this one up more like the AC units work in the actual game, so that when I hit the jump button, or what you would consider to be the jump button, it will activate flight mode. And when you press the equivalent of the B button, it activates Skimmer Mode. And I reckon I can figure it out. I reckon I've got half the idea worked out. I just need to build all of the bits and pieces first and see if it works the way I want it to. Because currently I've got it set up. That doesn't need to be there. Currently I've got it set up so you've got 3 separate controls on the toolbar to activate the separate modes. But like the game itself, right, that's all of that. I want it set up so it's more like active in game. So you can just be walking along, tap the spacebar and presto, you're off. Flight mode is activated. And I reckon I've got a way of doing it where I can just swap some of the flight controls around. So then that's that. Skimmer mode off. The next one on our list, skimmer mode off. Oh yeah, we're well past halfway. We've only got a few more blocks to set up. So, oh god, this is where it gets a bit more complicated. Yep. Right, I need to take photographs of these. Otherwise, it's going to get real confusing. It's page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right. Oh, that's a lot of pages of stuff. Right. Okie doke. Skimmer mode off. Everything's all set up sort of how it needs to be. So, first things first, those skimmer friction controls we just built. Skimmer mode off, friction off is going to turn on and get triggered. Oh, there's a... I haven't set up that yet, I don't think, but that needs to stop and turn off. And then we've got friction reset controls. Because I want a little bit of a pause in between them. Skimmer friction reset will turn on, trigger, and then a second later it'll start again as a little failsafe. And then we've got walk mode and flight mode, which is turning back on. Cool, that is page 1. Yeah, this is the one. So, this is where we are going to reset a bunch of stuff. So that's middle wheels, rear wheels, wheels. Yeah, that's fine. I'll just do it like this, not bad. So reset steering override, because all the wheels pitch out a little bit when skimmer mode is engaged. That's all of the front ones, and we'll do those controls in a second. And we've got all the middle ones. Stay, reset, reset. Reset, reset, and then we've got the rear ones, which will reset, 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 do some more resetting. That will be all of them. And then in yeah, there's not a lot of gaps anywhere else, is there? So in these two, we want to turn them back on, so I haven't really got anywhere else to squeeze them in. Okay, and then we have some of this nonsense. So we've got skimmer forward control will turn off, and then yeah, sound. So that will turn off there. Reverse will turn off there. Thrusters. Skim thrusters. Have I not built them? Looks like I am missing some blocks. Did I miss them? Thrusters. Where are you two hiding? You two are down there. Means you could be. Hello, Jameson. Oh yeah. Oh, right. So they would be tucked in here, theoretically. They are directly behind wheel friction, directly behind the friction controls. These ones here. Oh, which is the ones that haven't been named. There you go, that makes sense. Copy settings, copy all. Settings, paste. Yeah, right, so that'll be on, and this one on this side. Off. There you go. That's the bit I am missing. Right, that's what we'll be up to. Skimmer mode off then. So, skim thrusters. Block off. Block on. Block trigger. And the last 4 blocks are skimmer control off and off and jog. Skimmer control. And those blocked off so they can no longer be triggered. And then gyro override. You turn on and you can get triggered. Cool. Then we've got the rest of the skimmer controls. Like we've got. Right, what have I turned off back there? Controller skimmer forward. Oh! I've got that twice by mistake, you idiot. That's why. Forward, left, reverse, right. Could actually reduce that down. Couldn't I? Because I've got controllers in place. So that essentially doesn't actually need to be there. What we could do is turn that on, trigger it. That will turn off all of the skimmer controls. And then there it turns it back off again. And we can save ourselves half a page worth of nonsense. Yeah, cool. Do it like that. Instead, so friction lights will turn back on. Is there anything in there that's going to conflict? Don't think it will. So, I could even take them out of there, finger lights. I could move them here instead. Friction, finger lights, on and on. And there's some fan lights in there as well, isn't there? Yeah, they turn off. Ah, but I want them right at the end of the cycle, really. You know what, I'll leave that page like that for now. But then it is lots of reactors. I don't actually need all these reactors active when the thrusters are active, otherwise it's a massive waste of power. And a waste of uranium. So that will be 1 to 6, L0, 1 to 6, off. 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. R06. 04. Oh, smegad, they're the rail cam reactors. Rail, 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 rail. There we go. C01. Ah, there we go. So that will be off. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. That's the one. Then we've also got C01 and 2 off and off. We've got all the R's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Really? Well, I haven't set up those sound blocks properly, have I? Need to get around to that. The last bit is controls and stuff. So I'll leave a blank one there for now. So left arm can go back on, right arm can go back on. Guard mode can go back on. Control mode can go back on. Then we'll have the emotion block give us a happy face. That can come out because we need to replace that later on. Skimmer mode off. Yeah, and then it's just a case of resetting the arm lights. And they all just switch back on. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that should bring us back to the beginning. Cool. Right. So now we need to do skimmer mode on. Ugh. This is lots of controls that we need to copy and paste. Right, so that's page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 9 and 10 right at the end. Cool. Before you know it, we'll have a functioning skimmer system because we are only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks away from finishing rebuilding this system. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah. So skimmer mode on. You are going to start by turning off the friction reset controls. Take all the friction out of the suspension. And we'll trigger it and we'll start it to make doubly sure it works. And then we will turn off the other control systems that will conflict with this. So we'll start with, we'll start with walk mode off, light mode off, guard mode off, and control mode off, and that way you won't get anything conflicting with that. And then the next thing we need to do is make the arms move into the correct position, which is a case of turning off the first two, turning on the second two, and doing the same for the other arm. Because each one of these lights controls a different section of the body. And we've got hand lights, and they are going to turn on. On the next page, and the friction lights that control the friction on the back of the feet is going to turn off, which will make the friction turn off. And we've got skimmer control. These will turn on. That'll turn on. That will turn on. But that will turn on, that will turn on, and that will now trigger, because we're going to do things slightly differently and see what effect it has. And then we're going to have wheel position turn on and trigger. And then we can ignore that control because we're going to do it slightly differently. Skim thrusters. Skimmer thrusters on will turn on and trigger. Skimmer thrusters off will just turn on, so we can turn it off when we need to. And then the gyro OVR, override controls, will turn on and trigger, and that will switch some of our gyro override over to manual control. I can ignore that page because I'm going to do it differently. I'm going to set the leg positions, or rather we're not going to set them, we are going to make sure they stay in the position they are currently in, like that. And then we are going to have that. Yeah, do it there. Emergency tank. I'll turn that on. That deactivates stuff when our tanks run out of fuel. Skimmer mode lights you can turn on to indicate that the system is active. Then we're going to leave a blank space, and then we're going to have a winky face on the emotion controller. And then the hand and finger lights. All going to turn on, take that out, take that out. And then we are going to have a bunch of reactors turn on. So we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the other 6 on the other side. And that is theoretically the end of that. Really? Why have I got 2 spaces left? What have I missed? 1. Let's go back to the beginning. Sure, I've missed a page here. That's all of them. That's all of them. That's all of them. All of them. That's a page that I've removed because I don't need it. So that is that. That is that. That is them. Them. I don't get why I've got 2 pages missing. 5, 6, 7. Oh, right, that's because there was a blank page. Yeah, right, that does make sense. Okay, that's that then for Skimmer Mode on. So we've got this wheel position, and that just pushes everything else and triggers itself. Right, that seems straightforward enough. 1, so that's all the front ones, that's all the middle ones, that's all the rear ones, and then it just triggers itself. Yeah, so that is simple enough. So, wheel position, suspension, so we start with front left 0, 1 and work our way through. So that will decrease steering override, increase, decrease, increase. And the middle ones, or the front right ones, will be the opposite. So increase, decrease, increase, decrease. That is all first set. Cool. For the middle ones, which will go decrease, increase, increase, decrease. And then the other side will be the opposite, so it will be plus, minus, minus, plus. Yep. Cool. Right. And then the last set of wheels is RL 01 plus, minus, plus, minus, and the opposite, minus, plus, minus, plus. And then that whole thing triggers itself and is good to go. Right, only a few left now. Skimmer Mode reverse. One doing. Right, first things first, we move all the arms into position. That's up some of the wheels. Thrusters, more thrusters, hand lights, arm controls on and off. Right. Do that. Right, cool. Right, so back to the one we're working on. Skimmer Mech reverse. So first things first, arm lights. And these will be on, off, 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 blank space, on, off, off, off. And we've got suspension. Right. So it's going to go increase, decrease, increase, decrease. Then the other side will be the opposite. So decrease, increase, decrease, increase. Oh. I've been doing friction for God's sake, propulsion. Is what I'm supposed to be doing. Idiot. Start again. So, increase, decrease, 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 increase, negative, positive. Why have they already got a little bit of propulsion override on them? What's that about? Oh well, I'll fix that later. Next one then is decrease, increase. Yeah, why have all these already got a little bit of propulsion override on them? They shouldn't do. Range. The increase, decrease, increase, decrease. And the last page of these wagon wheels will be positive, negative, positive, negative, and then negative, positive, increase or decrease, and increase. Right, that's the wheels done. So, next bit is the jet stuff. What we got here? So if I just put jet lights, we've got rotors L01 and R01 turning on. 2 thruster lights off and off. Something in the middle for now, and then side lights, side thrusters are thruster lights are on, rotor lights are off. That come out the middle. Then we've got some more jet lights. We're going to have rotors L02 and R02 turn off, and thrusters themselves will turn on. And those thrusters will all turn on as well. And then the only thing left is some hand lights, which I haven't got anywhere to squeeze in earlier on, so they can go here. So hand light will turn off and off, and that'll move the hands. Then finger lights will turn on, and right at the end. Arm controls can turn off. Closer. Skim right. This should be real simple. Got what? Arms. Controls. Jetpacks. Thrusters. Wall thrusters. Headlights. Arm controls. Cool. Skimmer right. We have the very first thing was arm lights. Move the arms into position first. So on, off, on. Filler for now, and then off, and on. Skimmer friction. Reset. And stop and turn off. Friction off can turn on and trigger, and the friction lights and turn off. And that means it should be able to turn freely. Then we have got more jetpack stuff. Jet. You know what, we'll do it this way. L02. So the rotor light is turning off, the thruster light is turning on, and the two thrusters are turning on. R02, gap in the middle for now. R02 is rotor light on, thruster light off. Yep. And then the two thrusters are off as well. And we've got rear thrusters. You know, rear L0. That makes life a bit easier. So the thruster light is on, rotor light is off, and the two thrusters are on. And with the opposite side, we've got the thruster light is off and the rotor light is on, and the two thrusters are off. And we've got the side stuff. So for the left side, everything switched on. And for the right side, the L01 thruster, L01 rotor light. There you go, that's what I wanted. And for that side, the thruster light is on, and the rotor light is off, and the two thrusters are both on. Right, and we've got hand lights are on and off. Finger lights, should there be no weapons in the hands, are on and off. And then right at the end, arm controls turn off. We are very, very, very nearly there. Just one right. So we're doing stop. Skimmer stop. Resets all the propulsion on all of the wheels. Resets all of the thrusters. Turns the arms back on. Does all that. Yeah, so I might rearrange a few of those bits. So, skimmer stop. So what did we have? We started with... Well, the first thing we'll do is we'll start with those arms and turn them all off. So, arm lights will go off, off, on, off, off, on. Then we'll do the suspension. All that is going to do is reset the propulsion on every single one. So, first set, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I've missed one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. There we go. Reset the right thing. Hey Freybear, what was the thing that you said ages ago? I've got so many build ideas in my head, I can't remember where I'm up to with half of them. Set 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And turn off and off and on and on. Reset them. Then we've got rear L01. The rotor light will turn off, the rotor light will turn on. Oh no. Oh yeah, it will. They turn off. That should be the exact same on the other side. Yep. Thruster off, rotor on, thruster itself switched off. Then jet. Do L02. Rotor light on, thruster light off. Rotor light on, thruster light off. Thrusters off. Rotor light on, thruster light off. Thrusters off. And light. And turn on and on. finger light can turn on and on. Then the last thing is the arm controls. Turning back on. Right. Skimmer mode, thrusters off. Right, let's see which ones we used for this. So we used forward thrusters, reverse thrusters, left, right, side, jetpack, vector lights, control thrusters, more control thrusters. Right. That's all of them. Hopefully, when we fire this up first time, it will all work. But we can only hope. So, skimmer thrusters off. That's what we've got. Thrust forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, we ignore those two, it's therefore a different system. Got all the reverse ones. So we are... Oh, they're named differently on this one because it's a different setup. So we are off and off. Off, 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 and off, and the last. Oh, hang on, what's going on in there then? Oh, that's what's going on in there. L05 and L06. So then the last ones will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that makes sense. Right, cool. Now we've got left controls. We are going to go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, and the other 2 are turn thrusters, so we don't want them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So that's what right controls. Then we're on page 6, which would be side thrusters. These 4, make sure all of them are turned. Make sure they are all turned off. Then we've got the jetpack thrusters. 6 of. Yeah, there you go. Off, 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 and off. Then we've got jet lights. So all the rotor lights on. 1, 2, 3, 4, and all the thruster lights off. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we've got the flight control thrusters. There are 12 of them. No, 11 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh no, there's 12. Forward, forward. Left, left, reverse, reverse, right, right. Up and up. Oh. I think. Oh no, it's because it's. I'm an idiot. It's because it's the skimmer mode. It doesn't need the down control, does it? No, it does not. Don't need down on this one. What do we? No, smack it. We don't need that for now. So we're gonna have that off, off, off. Right. Override. Should be the last one there. And then up and up. Should be the last ones there. And that should be that for that. And then skimmer mode thrusters on. That should just be the opposite of all of that. So we've got forward controls, reverse controls, or reverse, left, right, jetpack, control thrusters. Sweet. Right, this should be the very last set of controls. And then hopefully this will work first time. So, thrusters forward will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then that's that. And we've got the reverse controls, which will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah. Left is 9, 4, 5, 7, 9. Right is also 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Then we've got the side thrusters. And turn on the main jetpack thrusters can turn on, and then we've got the light control thrusters, everything but down for now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 2 more. And that's it. That should be all of it. So, after booting Jameson like a football, because he's always getting in the way. Oop, I'm trying not to fall over, so I turn too quickly. Right, you settle down. Right, so we will deactivate walk mode. Skimmer mode on and off. Skimmer sign on and off. Control skimmer mode on off is on that sign. It has them set up, so hopefully when I stick this on the toolbar, it doesn't smeg it good because it's switched on. Nope. Oh, because it's activating the wrong sign. Well, something is going on there. Why are they on? Right, turn everything off. Mode on off. You're doing that. You're doing that. Trigger. Sign is on. Nothing has happened. Well, it didn't work first time like I was hoping it would. Fine. On. Trigger. There you go, that's kicked in. Although those thrusters down there shouldn't be doing anything. Oh, there you go. Well, there you go. Skimmer mode works. Because the on-off button was being stupid. Why is the on-off button not working properly? Skimmer mode button. What are you doing? You turn that sign on and off. That sign turning on and off is doing smeggle. Why is that doing smeggle? Hang on. There it is. Skimmer mode sign active. You are not turned on, that's why. Oh yeah, there we go. That's all off. Nothing's moving. Ah. Hang on. Hang up. Okay, well... okay. You were working. Mode on off. Trigger now. Mode light. On off. Mode control on off. Oh, because I have, for some reason, put it together wrong, that's why, dumbass. Wasn't paying attention when I built the on-off switch. Skimmer mode. On. On and trigger. Off. On and trigger. There we go. Right. That successfully turns on and off. Turn it on. Turn it off. Oh. Hang on. Oh. Something screwed that up. Gyro. Where is it? Gyros. You. Trigger. There you go. There you go, skimmer mode works now, so in theory, just going to quickly save. In theory, I can't turn on the other two control modes. Cool, turn that off, everything resets, turn walk mode back on, can't turn on the other two. Groovy. Cool. Right. So that can now walk. Now skim. Just about. Bit heavy, it takes a while to build up from speed. And got an auto gyro correcting system, and then we can engage flight mode and we can fly about. Cool, so all the control systems seem to be up and running nicely, or all of the manual control systems, because I still need to set up all of its AI controls like the other one has. Back into there, and we can do a bit of refueling. Hang on. Ah, That's something I forgot to reset the docking port controls on here. Oh yeah, that ain't switched on, that's why. Now the tanks should refill quickly. Yeah. Oh, hang on. Oh yeah, because I rebuilt some stuff, didn't I? Thanks, stockpile, white, there you go, that's the one. So if I turn that on, yeah, there you go, they all kick in. So that's docking port controller, that was just missing. Oh yeah, that, because it was there. Backlight, on and off. That is now refueled back up to 100. So all of that skimmer related stuff. Oh yeah, man. Yeah, I'm making another AC unit. Well, I've been building this other one for a while. Just now that I have gotten pretty much everything sorted in that, even though I've noticed a few stupid mistakes on the blueprinted version that I didn't notice before I blueprinted it and published it. But I am just copying and pasting the bits from this that now work properly and sticking them into this one that I've had like 90% built for a while. So he now has a skimmer mode like the other one. And he's got his fully working walk mode and gyro assist system so he doesn't fall over. And I've set him up now as well so he can walk in reverse as well. Yeah, and the balance control system kicks in nicely to stop him tipping over when his walk cycle gets a bit wonky. Yeah, balance control works pretty well. But yeah, I've just been copying and pasting the bits over. The next thing I need to do, which I can't be arsed doing right now, because I'm gonna wrap the stream up in a minute, because it's been about 3.5 hours, and I'm hungry, and so are my cats. But the next thing I'm going to do in the next stream is chuck in the AI controls, so that the grey one can follow me around like the white one can now. Because he's got, like, all of his AI systems work pretty well now, so he can just follow me around everywhere. Or if I jump into another AC unit, we can walk around as a little two-man team. Oh, cheers, man. Yeah, if more people could like and rate that thing, it would be lovely. But yeah, I just need to set up the AI in this one. And this one will be ready to go pretty soon, to be honest. Because I've got the AI controls set up in the other one, and they work more or less exactly how I want them to. So copying and pasting them over to this one won't be too difficult now. But yeah, give it a few weeks and I'll have an entire squad of these things. And we can just patrol around together. And yeah, if you notice there, he's got an automated stopping system so he doesn't crash into the back of me. So he's following behind, and I stop. He'll stop. He'll get a bit confused, because he's got those two sensors just there. When they detect grids, they stop the walk cycle. Obviously the grid is, that mech is following me, so the AI block will fiddle around until it can point at me and the sensors aren't being tripped. And he'll just continue following me again. I can jump back in there. And we can go on a nice little walk. I think the weapon systems are mostly set up as well, there's not much I need to do with them. Yeah, not far off having an army of robots. Although the more of these things you paste into a game with the AI functions working, the slower your game will get. Because the AI blocks and everything have to calculate a lot of stuff. Still a few clangs in there. Oh, that'll be what that clanging is, because that's a thing I didn't fix from last time. I spent hours and hours and hours tearing my hair out trying to figure out what was clanging. And it turned out to be this. That's not touching, but the game thinks it is if it's any closer, and it creates... Hear that clanging sound? Every time I turn to the right, it clangs. And it only happens when I move right. So if I hold left, no clang, release the left button, clang. Hit right, clang. Release right, no clang. That drove me mad for about 2 straight hours and I couldn't figure out what it was. And what it is these blocks here are touching. Even though you can see they are physically not touching by at least a couple of inches, the collisions are. So if I drop that to minus 15 degrees on that side and 15 degrees on that side, when I wiggle left and right, no hideous sound. Well, there's a few sparks in there, which is concerning, but no hideous clanging. Yeah, I'm going to leave this stream here for now, because I am absolutely starving now. But yeah, next time, when I come back to this build, I will sort out the AI controls. Did I really screw that blueprint up? I think I did, didn't I? Yeah, I did. I left those buttons. I didn't mean to leave them on there. Oh well, they're on there now. They're part of the official blueprint. At least they're both... at least they're symmetrical. Stupid mistake. I can't believe I forgot about that. Oh well. Anyway, leaving that there for now. Next time we will do more AI controls. So, thank you for watching. Thank you for chatting. And I'll probably be back with more of this tomorrow, maybe. So, yeah. Cheers for watching and cheers for chatting. I'll see you all you guys next time. So, goodbye for now.